Do you struggle camping with fire restrictions? Today I'm sharing tips with you so that you can have just as much fun camping when fire restrictions are activated as when they are lifted. We live and camp in Arizona, and it is a dry state, so we have a lot of experience camping with fire restrictions. Our favorite places to camp are in national forests, usually in dispersed spots that have absolutely no services. Those are the first places that actually get shut down or get restricted with fire restrictions. Today, we are camping in one of those places. We are camping in a location where you actually have to camp in a numbered spot. There are some places that are down the road that are actually dispersed, and there are no numbered campsites whatsoever. This is one of the most beautiful forests. We're along Road 300 here. They are working on paving this right now, but this used to be all dirt. Now they're paving the main road, and then all of these offshoot forest roads are still dirt, and they can be pretty gnarly with some pretty big rocks and pretty big divots and ruts. So when you're pulling your trailer down here, you got to be a little bit careful. I was riding my bike to try to show you some of these signs and stuff, and I actually ended up having a blowout on my tire. So so I'm walking it, which I really need the exercise anyway, so it's all good. We've been coming back to this spot for years because there are so many beautiful rim spots and so many beautiful forest spots. You can have stage 1 or stage 2 fire restrictions. Today, we are under stage 1 restrictions. Those are the least restrictive. I'll show you a little bit about what we can and can't do. As you can see by this sign, we cannot have campfires. We cannot have charcoal. We can't cook with charcoal, but we can cook with propane stove. This is a congested area. You cannot target shoot, and there's tons of trailheads all around here. They're pretty well marked, and obviously camping too. There's a couple of ways that you can know when you are camping in a spot that has fire restrictions. Number one, I always recommend that you check the website first for whatever forest that you're in or wherever you're camping. They almost always have something on the very front of the homepage because it's such a big deal when fire restrictions are activated. They almost always have something directly on the homepage. And then you can also see the signs as you're driving in, which you kind of want to know that ahead of time before you even get here, because if you don't know that there's restrictions until you actually arrive, you might have an entire meal planned that needs charcoal or campfire cooking, and you are like out of luck because you can't use that stuff. That's why when I talk about meal planning, one of the things that I always talk about is knowing about the weather and the conditions and any kind of restrictions before you even start your meal plan. I have a video on that, and I have a free printable camping meal planner template. I'll leave a link for both of those below. The other way you can know that you're in fire restriction territory is when you arrive at the campsite itself. There are going to be clues. You're going to see things around the fire pit that actually tells you you can't use it. A lot of times there will be some kind of flag, and there also usually is some kind of tape where it tapes it off so that you can't use it. Let me show you what that looks like now. We're walking up to the first campsite that is in this area where we absolutely love to camp. Here we're walking up on the fire pit, and the fire pit has tape that is attached to the rocks showing that you can't use it. There's also a little flag inside of here that tells you that you can't have a campfire. And there's the little no campfire symbol on that. Then there's also an area where there is typically a grate. This one is being used more as another campfire area versus a grate because there's no grate here, just the outside pieces of that. But once again, you're seeing where people have charcoal and burned up firewood, and it is out completely, and there's another flag that shows you that you are not allowed to have campfires here. So those are the two big clues. Look for flags and look for tape, and you will know for sure when you see this stuff that no campfires are allowed, and also no charcoal. When you end up having no campfires, what do you do for cooking? Well, there's a couple of things that you can do. You can do no cook camping food, which is kind of boring because, you know, we all like to cook and that's part of the whole camping experience, right? And there's also using your camp stove, but there's other propane equipment that you could use. Propane grills and like propane camping equipment like Blackstones. I'm going to show you how we have our setup today. Okay, so now we're back at camp and I'm going to show you how we cook with propane equipment so that we can have awesome meals when we're under fire restrictions. Our first piece of equipment is Blackstone, and this is an awesome piece of gear. It runs off of 1 pound propane cans, or you can connect it to a larger tank with one of these little braided wires. And you can see the regular, that's like a regular thing for a gas grill, and so it doesn't run out as fast. We also use that same big propane can to power our propane grill. This is a Weber, and it's got a decent amount of grill space. So you can do a meal for 4 or 6 easily on that thing. The other piece of equipment that we use is a propane stove. And this is just a regular traditional stove. We don't use this as much as the grill and the Blackstone, so that's why we have just the 1 pound propane can on this. We use this to like heat up some beans and stuff like that when we're making burgers on the grill. We love doing stir fries and Philly cheesesteak sandwiches and that kind of thing on the Blackstone. So we're all set. Over here, we've got our propane fire pit, and it's connected to another regular propane tank. Now, we usually set up our camp chairs right around that because we have this really awesome view out here. But some people really like the feel of putting that propane fire pit into a regular campfire pit that is all flagged off. So you can just flip this thing up, put your propane pit right in there, and it feels a little bit more like a regular traditional campfire around a campfire ring. Fire restrictions start and stop throughout the summer. Right now we are waiting for the holiday, 4th of July holiday coming up. So we're positive that there's no way that the Forest Service is going to lift the fire restrictions before the holiday. They're always really cautious to make sure, because there's so many people that come out for those holidays. It gets so busy and so chaotic, and I really appreciate that they actually just keep the fire restrictions in place until the major camping holidays are over, because it's just too dangerous. You can see as I walk around here how much dry stuff there is with pine needles and leaves and that kind of thing. You can see the trees that are over here on the rim that are dead and can go up in just a moment's notice. That's why those fire restrictions are really important, especially in these remote areas. You can have just as much fun doing all the normal things that you do when you're camping when you have fire restrictions. Don't forget, when you go to stage 2 fire restrictions, now even the propane stuff isn't allowed. So that's when you're doing all of your no-cook camping meals and whatever kinds of activities that you would do that don't require any kind of power, such as hiking and biking and, you know, fishing, all those kinds of things. So it's really just the campfires and the cooking that is the most impacted when you have fire restrictions. If the forest gets so dry that the officials are like, hey, like this is just like a tinderbox and we can't even chance anything, there's no such thing as stage 3. After stage 2, they actually just shut the forest down and no one can enter at all. So hopefully those are tips that are going to make you have the best time the next time you are camping with fire restrictions. And when you have campfire bans, it's not going to even faze you at all to think twice about going on your next outdoor adventure.